Hey garden friends, let's talk how to get the best seedlings at a nursery when you go to shop for your plants, whether it's flowers or vegetables. So this is just some tips and tricks of how to get the best bang for your buck. While we are chatting, I'm going to pot up these petunia seedlings. Look at these things. Now, this one was a packet of old seeds, and this was a wild petunia. It was called Violet Wild, and so only 2 of them germinated. That's fine. I have so many petunias. I was potting up my Dollar Tree petunias, the ones I bought, and they are just going crazy, and I didn't even use half of one packet. So I got a ton of petunias for 30-something cents. But then this other one these are called balcony petunias. And these are beautiful, draping. These were from way back when before the big boys started putting out these super petunias that people are buying. And this one is called, Balcony Mix. I got this one. They're available at different seed companies. I got mine from Select Seeds. And they are a mix of purple and fuchsia pink and pink. So they ought to be beautiful. So first, I want to pot them up to get going. They have been in here too long. Look how big some of these are. But that's okay. They'll be fine. I have my DIY potting mix here, which is my turkey compost I buy locally. You can get compost usually through municipalities. Counties a lot of times carry it. And then I mixed in a little bit of perlite and sometimes a little bit of green sand. I have it on hand. But the turkey compost really probably has a lot of nutrition. I love this little trowel. This is from Gardener Supply. I need to oil it. The handle's getting a little dry. But this is so great when you're potting up seedlings because of the small size. But I have used like a knife like this. This is an old paring knife. So I'm going to keep potting while we chat about this. So I don't know about you, but when I walk into a nursery, I am like a kid in a candy store. I get a dopamine rush. I want everything because the plants are so beautiful. But how do you pick out what's going to work best for you? So first of all, you got to resist picking up the biggest plant that you see. A lot of times that's hard, very hard. But, oversized seedlings can be root bound and that means that their roots are tangled, wrapping around the inside of the pot. So what do you want to look for instead? Those are pretty though, because a lot of times if it's a flower, they're in full bloom and they're so attractive, you just want to take that home, put it in your garden. But they won't always transplant as well as a plant that is maybe smaller size plant and is not flowering yet. But, they're usually in the same area and from the flowering plant what the plant you're picking up will look like once you get it planted and it starts going. And a lot of times it'll acclimate better that way. So you want to look for compact, sturdy plants. I'm looking at my notes. You want to look for compact, sturdy plants, ones that are not leggy and stretched. And a lot of times leggy plants will not have gotten enough sunlight, so that's why they're stretching up. So give the leaves a good once over. I'm going to put these in here to water while we chat. And then make sure the leaves are a bright green. I'm going to put this in there with those. And make sure there's no yellowing or brown spots on them. So inspect the undersides of the leaves too for like aphids or thrips. Thrips are really hard to see, but they will leave like a mottling yellow on the leaves. Make sure you don't have any insect eggs. Sometimes you'll see like slug eggs and stuff, which you can kill those off, but yeah, try to avoid that. And it's no fault of anybody really, because gardening comes with bugs, so you're going to get slugs and whatever. But when you get them home, if you have a seedling, you want to make sure they're not just filled with slug eggs, but if you get them home and you find some when you go to transplant, just kill the slug eggs and set out some beer traps. Beer traps work really well, and I'm going to do a test on what some people call bread traps, where it's like almost when I'm making my sourdough, it's like you make a sourdough fermented liquid, and then that attracts them even better than beer, though beer has worked really well for me. And I'll share with you how I make my traps. They're very interesting. Okay, on to the balcony mix. So you want to make sure also that the soil's in good shape. You don't want it to be fuzzy or moldy or maybe have an off smell. That's not good. So you can squeeze, like if you're buying a 6-pack, I'm trying to find, I don't have any right here. I'll just demonstrate with this. If you're picking up a 6-pack of plants, which a lot of plants come that way, just squeeze it. If it's hard as a rock, that probably means that it is root bound. So go through and try to find maybe some that aren't. We'll talk a little bit later about when they are root bound, what you can do if you have no other choice. But if you have a choice, try to get one that has, they're not as root bound. So I'm just trying to get these measured out. So you want to, as I said before, avoid plants that are already fruiting or flowering. Now sometimes that's really hard because garden centers will get them in, especially big box stores, and they'll have little fruits on them, etc. Now if that's all you've got choice of, fine, take it home and just deal with it. But if you have where there's smaller plants available that aren't flowering or fruiting, then choose those plants. They can have maybe some little buds on them, but not being like in full bloom. So take a little extra time to shop through them and then pick the best ones you can. Smaller plants, compact plants, dark green leaves, no flowers or fruits. No flowers if it is a flowering plant. But I think it's just with those cases, it's more important to be cognizant of the roots and how root bound they are. Now, so what I do when I get a root bound plant, and I do have a video and I show it, I think I did some petunias last year. I pull them out of the 6-pack. I will either cut down the sides of the root ball, the root mass, to loosen it up, or I just cut off the bottom third of the root ball and slice down the sides. And then when I put it in fresh soil, it'll start sending out new roots. Now, rather than it just putting energy into just getting going for you, it has to recover from that. So that's why I recommend trying to find non-root bound plants. But if that's all you can find, it's not the end of the world, and you can go ahead and use them. So list. Let's go down the list. Avoid oversized plants. Watch out for leggy seedlings. Examine the soil. Make sure there's no bugs, slug eggs, bugs, fuzzy, smelly. Check the root health. You can pick up the plants and look at the bottom. You can squeeze the bottom of the tray, the 6-pack of plants, and kind of get a feel if it's really root bound. And avoid seedlings that are already flowering or fruiting. So if you follow these tips, you can bring home the strongest seedlings that you can to get a really great start. But also, if you only can find plants that are root bound, etc., you can mitigate the issues. Even the soil, if the soil is a little iffy, bring them home, wash off the soil, put them in fresh soil. They should continue just fine. Now that is if it isn't a plant that doesn't like root disturbance. Now there's many plants that really prefer not to have their roots disturbed, and that's like zinnias, squashes, zucchinis, squashes, cucumbers. Those all prefer not to have their roots disturbed. So yeah, just be really careful with those and try to get the best seedlings you can. Hey garden friends, how you doing? Today I wanted to do a really quick video. I got too much stuff on my planting table. On when you buy bedding plants or these annuals at your garden center, many times they are root bound, and I mean majorly root bound. Now this one has been soaking in water because it started to get dried out. It's been kind of warm in my studio. So to get them out without ripping them off, I wanted to show you how to do it. Now I just take them from the bottom and I pinch, pinch, pinch. Sometimes the roots have gone across the top to each other, and so they're connected that way. And if I have to, I'll take my cutters and cut along the edge of the individual 6-packs. Let me see if these are connected. I don't think so. I've already taken some out and potted them up. But so I pinch, and then I grab by the stem, and I just kind of wiggle. I don't want to wiggle too hard. There, all of them are coming out. They are connected at the top. See how they're connected? They will pull apart usually, but if not, if you just cut them like that. Now, notice how root bound this is. You see that? It's very wet because I just soaked it, but I'm just going to tear the bottom off. I know, you're screaming, aren't you? But then I score the sides because they've been growing round and round, and even the roots went up and over the top. So this will give them the opportunity to put down new roots. Now, in the center, there's still roots that aren't getting mauled by me. And you'd be surprised at how well this does. I'll even show you some that I just did a few days ago. Now, I'm going to give this a soak in some organic Rev, and that helps with the transplant shock and also helps the roots to absorb nutrients better. And I put it into a 50-50 mix. I have some little seedlings in here already, but I'll just set it in there and let it absorb for a while I get going. Now I'm going to get some more out because I don't have room in that pot. So I'm just going to put some more of the Rev into another pot. 50-50 mix. I eyeball it. And call it good. And then when they're done soaking, I just mix it with more water and dilute it even more, and then I water plants with it. Again, you can cut the bottom off instead of pulling. I just add that to my soil and cut. I know people are just having a fit, saying, "Oh, you're destroying the roots." But what I would say is that if you plant them all root bound like that, they're not going to stretch out into the soil and be able to absorb nutrients. So I set it down in there gently, and then, oh, I have 2 more. Thought I only had 3 in there. I wonder what. Okay, so again, you see how they're grown together at the top? Cut, 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 cut. Now, many times this is how bad they even arrive at the stores. And many times that's why I like to grow my own annuals from seed, because you don't have to deal with this. But if you can't grow your own and you want to buy from the garden center, it's perfectly fine and easy to do to correct their mass root problem. Guess I should have planted some all wadded up, and then you could have seen the difference, but I really want these things to grow, so I am going to cut them and let them grow on. Okay, so I will save this for something else, clean it up, wash it, and I will plant it up. Found them. Okay, so here's one. Now this was done several days ago, planted up, and this one, and they haven't died. I've got them in these 4-inch pots. I have them on a rack here in my garden house, and they're continuing to grow on. I may go ahead and put these out in the shade because it's going to be warm this week, and this inside of this garden house gets very hot when it gets into the 70s. So that is that. So I'm just putting them back on their little tray, and then I will pot these up. I will give them an hour to soak in the Rev, and then that will help them to grow well. So I hope you enjoyed this little video on how, this works also with pansies, with petunias, etc. that have become root bound. You've got to let them roots stretch out so they can absorb and get more. I'm going to show you some more really quick. Now these are a couple of violas that I had transplanted probably a week and a half ago, and you can see how they have filled in so well. These already have some yellowing on the leaves, so that's showing that they're stressed. So they will go ahead and I will trim off those leaves and probably the flowers just so that they can focus on regenerating some roots. And that's what I did with these, and now they're already reblooming. So it works. It works for me. So have you seen back here? I wanted to show you. Look at my petunias. This one's blooming. Oh, wait a minute. This one's blooming. That's what I put in the forage pot. Look at that. Look at that. Pretty bloom. And I should be able to put these outside probably in a month. So they're doing great in here. Our nights still get pretty cold, though this week they're going to stay on the warmer side. But anyways, so what is your trick with handling root-bound 6-pack plants you get from the garden center or nursery? You never know. I'm always learning something new, so I love to hear it. Leave me a comment in the comment section below and let me know. So I hope you enjoyed this quick video on how to pick up the best seedlings at a nursery to get started. And if you can, next year, try to grow from seed, even if it's just one little 6-pack of something or a few things. It's so fun, and it really, you might be hooked. Maybe that's not a good thing. I don't know. Anyways, I will see you in my next video, and you can go on back and you can see I have a video on plants that will reseed themselves in your garden, flowering plants, and then you don't have to ever buy plants again if you don't want a different variety, and or ones that you can just direct sow in the garden and have beautiful plants. I also have a video on perennial container garden that you can grow, and this summer I'm going to do one, and I'm going to use plants I've grown from seed as well as what's already in my garden. So you can watch those, and I will link them in the description box or put them in a playlist or something like that. So I will see you in my next video.